in the current urban area.
Right. I won't use the word, I'll never use the word MUL or MUL again.
Just hold you to that,
I'll just
councillor.
mull on it.
Good. Also, I'll clarify that for the 40%, which is between that one and that one,
No, go over here.
that one and that one, it also includes rural settlements.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
40% and 70%, obviously not an engineering term, otherwise the world would be in serious trouble, wouldn't it?
Yes.
And we've been working on that for 6 years, so this is nothing new to anyone in Auckland.
Doesn't make any sense at all.
It makes absolute sense, councillor. Thank you, councillor Quacks, for the clarification. It's
Obviously you
important.
can't
So I
count.
will never use the word mull again.
Councillors, can we, this, part of the reason for these workshops is to do exactly what councillor Quacks and councillor Webster have asked for, which is to get clear. This is not a chance to revisit, re-debate issues that some of us have worked on for a very, very long time.
Yep.
So, back to you, Anne.
Thank you, and I would rely on Chloe to navigate the map, because the GIS map and I parted company long ago. I just can't navigate it. So this shows you the south, and that lung-looking area, that's one of the biggest one. Whoops. So this colour represents the future urban zone. Okay, so this colour. So this is the Drury, Opahiki Drury, and it goes across to what we call Drury West, and that's the Bremner Road area. And here we have Hingaya. I should refer to that whole Hingaya area. And the majority of that, they are special housing areas. That's the southern part of Papakura. I think that's the Belfield Road area. And then you have Takanini. Also, if we can navigate, before we go north, can we go south? Pukekohe. So this is the Wesley College SHA and the Pukekohe area. And I'll mention about the line later. So, Pukekohe. And you will see this mustardy colour. This is the Clark's Beach, and it hasn't got a rub round it, and I'll come to that shortly as well, but it is identified for expansion. Okay, so that's, oh, hang on, is that Clark's Beach?
No, it's King Seat. Further out.
No, Clark's Beach is here. So that one is actually Kingseat.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
So this is Waiuku down south, and it hasn't got a rub round it. Okay, so that's the south.
Bit of a missed opportunity. No one wants to live there.
This is the notified rub, okay? So Central Isthmus hasn't got a rub, and then we move to the west. So that looks like Red Hill to me. And the Whenuapai, Wairorohia area, and this is Kumeu. And then further north.
Riverhead.
Sorry?
You've got Riverhead there too.
Whoops. Yeah.
Cameron's place?
Yeah.
Cameron
So
House.
It's going to be a city soon.
Well, beside you, Cameron.
that's Dairy Flat.
Well, it's originally going to be a city.
That's Dairy Flat and Wainui.
Should be trying to get.
So Dairy Flat, Wainui, and then,
Yeah. Walk, remember the Dredge Hill?
yep. So
Council up Easton.
that's Warkworth, isn't it? Warkworth. And if we can show Waiheke Island. So, oops.
Yeah, we're going to do Motatapu.
Struggling.
Motatapu could be...
So there, it's not showing.
the Kiwis.
No change.
There are no changes it's very tightly around the existing settlements.
Yeah.
Okay?
Waiheke got.
But the MUL.
Mike, former Mike.
And we go back to the presentation.
But to go to the same re-education centre.
Yeah, so this gives you the overview, a bird's eye view of the locality of those RUP areas and the future urban zone. This is north and Waiheke Island, and this is the west, and this is the south. Bird's eye view, okay? So we've done that one. Now, summary of the submitter's views, not surprisingly, I think it's, can we have more land included in the RUP? And the total of the submitter's view is an additional 12,000 hectares. Now, not all the submissions have identified a line of where they would like to be, so there's some interpretation from the submissions received. And the reason they've made, the most common reason, is that there is insufficient land. Council has identified insufficient greenfield land to meet future growth. And by including more area, it actually provides flexibility from the developer's perspective, okay? And then the other submitter's view is reduce the extent of the RUB, and this is particularly areas that are at the fringes, and the strongest argument is that the infrastructure is not available, and that by identifying it as the RUB, there will be pressure for advancing infrastructure development. Then the last bullet, it's about the live zone, and as I said earlier on, within the RUB, it goes with a future urban zone with some exceptions. And the exceptions being those areas that had recently been through a plan change and we have operative zoning. And the other exception is in the Puanui area where we have, council has done the structure planning so that we can support the live zone. But the submitter's view is that a lot of those future urban zone area should be live zone. And to qualify that, many of them are actually already applied for special housing area status. So they're already going through under the Hasher legislation, but they're also through the unitary plan process. It's like trying to have a bob each way and see which goes first. Now, the council's position at the hearings, so that we have identified some additional areas, but also some reduction. I will expand on that in a minute. And we are also including a rub round specific surfaced rural settlements, and particularly in the south, for example, Kingseat and Clevedon. They have both been recently through a plan change process, and we have got operative zones. The reductions and the additional areas, we end up with a net additional 1,350 hectares, so that the total rub of the council position, the notified plus the evidence presented at the hearing, is 12,000 hectares. Now, apologies, I just realized that I have left out the reference to the interim guidance on the rub. So, have you got it? I can put it out. Okay. Apologies. So that when council presents its evidence and its position, we had taken it into account, so that the change, any change, and this is not just interim guidance to the council, but it is to the submitters as well, so that the efficient provision of development capacity and land supply, so that is important. It achieves quality compact urban form, so it's not just any landowner area which is located somewhere very far away. Where moving the rub results in rezoning, the provision of infrastructure is feasible. that the change avoids, so this word avoids is very strong, as John said in relation to the King Salmon decision, avoid means avoid, that they are avoid scheduled areas with significant environmental, heritage, Māori, natural character or landscape values, the Waitakere Ranges Heritage Protection Area, and mineral resources that are not, that are commercially viable, and elite soil. So this is the elite soil, not the prime, but avoid elite soil. They're silent on prime soil. And the change avoids, where possible, areas prone to natural hazards and conflicts between residents and infrastructure. So this is where reverse sensitivity occurs, and that supporting information is required. But anyway, and also the RUB should aim to follow property boundaries. Okay, so these were the interim guidance. Okay, we go back to the presentation.
What we will do is we will create a slide that shows that interim guidance, and we'll include it with what goes up on the website, but we'll also send it round for you to all include with your slides, so you do have that reference when you're reflecting on it.
Just a point of clarification, and I've probably missed something here. But if we're looking at that, the rural-urban boundary and the different decades, and that 1,200, if you're looking at the hectares, if I work my way through your presentation, can you just help me understand within those additional hectares, is that across, across those decades, or is that specific to a moment in time?
It's across the decades, totally. So that it is where that end line is, so that by the time we finish with the council case at the hearing,
Yep.
we have a total of 12,150 hectares.
It is important, this is just a stylised diagram. When you're actually down on the ground, and you need to look at the future urban land supply strategy, because there's some parts of the city where all of the land is recommended to be rezoned within the first 10 years, right up to the RUB, and other areas which are much larger where there will be a stage rezoning. So this is very much a stylised diagram, but it was really to show that unlike the metropolitan urban limit, which would have been right up close to the Brown area, the RUB is set out some way in many areas to allow for 30 years of growth. Not all areas, because there are some small areas where it will be all rezoned in the first decade, but that's in the future urban land supply strategy.
So that is beyond the 11,000 hectares.
So that is the 12,150 hectares ultimately. And this, by and large, is zoned future urban. So this constitutes the 12,150 hectares of future greenfield.
So it might be helpful if Anne goes to the next slide, because I think she's going to show you where council's position at the hearings included has changed.
Yeah.
We can come back, Councillor Fletcher and Councillor Quacks, if this doesn't answer it. I think it's really important to get that clear.
Thanks.
So again, this is the high-level bird's-eye helicopter view. I have to refer to different bits and pieces. So the circles identify the location of councils where changes have occurred, and some are addition and some are reductions. If I start from the south, so in the Pukekohe area, I'll just focus on the key areas. I wouldn't identify every hectare or so, okay? So in the South Pukekohe area, we have shrunk it a bit because this southern part has got a significant area of elite soil. So we had to pull that back.
They gave some direction on that.
Yes, they did. So that's in the interim guidance, yes. Then also a little bit of change in the Takanini area, but it's a relatively, you've got the arrow on that, thank you. And that is to align with council's stormwater management proposal to service the existing urban area, but we just needed some additional land. It's only, just bear with me for a sec.